DreAllDay.com.
If life could get any better, it just did, because you are tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, the go-getter energy that moves you to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Putting all this together, you get the mindset, the method, the podcast known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Y'all know who I am, but welcome to the show. If you don't, welcome. Today's topic, selection versus development. Selection versus development. Now, I heard a person mention this. I don't even remember what I was listening to, but I heard a person mention this in passing. He's making a different point. But he said he heard it from a sports trainer. This guy who was a trainer of champion athletes. I don't even know what sport the guy was a trainer of. But one of the things that this trainer said is that he likes to work with athletes who are ready to compete for a championship, ready to actually go to that highest possible level of what they're doing. He wasn't looking for the amateurs who needed somebody to help make them better and teach them the fundamentals and the basics. That's not who he was after, which could be probably a much larger pie of individuals and honestly much easier work if we really think about it. You think about development versus selection. If we just think about athletes in any sport. The athlete who's already one of the best, they're at that 90% level and they're trying to get that final 10% to get to 100% and be that champion, be the number one person. It's much harder to get that final 10% than it is to go from 0 to 90%. To go from trash to good or trash to average, anybody with just a little bit of information and knowledge can train somebody to do that. But taking somebody from already good to great to amazing, that's a lot harder work, and I'm doing a whole episode on that exact topic coming up soon. But what this trainer was saying was, look, I can't turn a Volkswagen into a Ferrari. He didn't use those words. Those are my words. It's my metaphor. But he wanted to take something that was already doing great and make it amazing, meaning when he looked at possible clients, people were looking at him to be their trainer, he basically flipped the script. And this is something that I talked about in the episode on how to get high-paying clients. He turned it from him prospecting clients to get them to want to sign with him to him acting like he was the one making the selection. Not acting like he's the one who chooses. They would come to him and ask, hey, can I get down with you? And he would decide, yes, you can pay me your money, or no, you can't pay me your money, because he wanted to choose the best people. He wasn't looking for people he had to develop. He was looking for people who are already at that level that, of course, he's going to work with them. They're going to develop. There's going to be some development, of course, is why they have a trainer. But he's taking what's already great and making it amazing rather than taking something that's just average or terrible and making it good. All right, that's what we're talking about here today. The idea of selection versus development and how it applies to you in your life when you're trying to get from outside of the room to inside of the room. You're trying to get from having no feet in the door to getting your foot or both feet in the door. This idea of selection versus development and why you may be looked over, ignored, turned away by some people because they may be in a selection mindset and you are in a development mindset. See, you can't turn a Volkswagen into a Ferrari, but you can, if you fine tune it enough, take a Ferrari that goes 200 miles per hour and get it to go 210 miles per hour. There's just that little bit of change, that 5% change. Some people are looking for that. Not everybody's looking to go from 0 to 60 because for whatever reason, everybody's individual, to each his own. This topic is about the fact that in many life situations and opportunities, also, you need to arrive on the job with the skills rather than arrive on the job with the request for help in getting the skills. Did you hear what I just said? Can I say that? Let me say that one more time. Because sometimes I think you might be listening, but you're not really listening. So let me say this again. Make sure you listen if you weren't listening the first time I said this. Sometimes in life, you need to arrive to the job with the skills rather than arrive to the job with a request for someone helping you in developing the skills. That's what I mean by selection versus development. They want to select the people who are already ready rather than develop the people who ain't ready, which is why they may turn you away until you go work on your game, then come back later, which you can do inside the game group membership. Anyway, point number one. And back in and the topic again today is selection versus development. Back in episode number 352, if you have not heard that episode, go listen to it. The topic was nobody pays for mediocre. Mediocrity doesn't sell anymore these days, people. It used to be a time that wasn't that long ago in our lifetimes, depending on how old you are, when you could sell some mediocre stuff simply because there weren't too many other options. These days, there are way too many other options, and the consumer is way too informed these days compared to how uninformed the consumer was back in the day. You could just hide information from people back in the day. You were so much more informed than them. You could sell them something mediocre and they wouldn't even know it was mediocre because they didn't know anything better existed, even though it did. These days, you can't sell anything mediocre to a consumer because the consumer already knows all the options available. Your mediocre shit won't even get through into the marketplace, in front of the customer, let alone will you be able to sell it to anybody, because they got all the information. They know what's good, they know what's not. We have crowdsourced reviews and feedback on products and services and people. So if you're trash, word's going to get out pretty quickly because people are going to spread the word that you're trash, and you won't be able to sell your mediocrity to anybody because everybody's going to know you're mediocre without even having to buy your product first or try your products or goods first, whether that be something they got to pay for or something they got to sample, like a podcast you listen to for free or a YouTube channel that somebody watches. Nobody pays for mediocre anymore. So if you're aiming to do business or to make money, do business with or to make money from your skills, you have to show up to the game ready-made to perform. If you want to make money off of your abilities, your talents, whatever results you believe you can produce, you need to show up. When you knock on the door, be ready to perform and ready to go. Because you're getting paid for results that your skills show that you can produce, or at least you sold them on the idea that you have some skills that can produce a certain result. That's what they're paying you for, and if you don't produce those results, they're not going to keep paying you. There's a rare exception of these days of those who have so much obvious potential that businesses will invest in them up front before they produce any results or before they've proven that they're worthy of selection just based on results. They're worthy of selection just based on potential, just based on raw talent. There's a rare exception that happens. All right, they're the exceptions that make the rule. You understand? This is what you see when you watch the NFL draft or the NBA draft. You see people who have not yet proven that they can perform on a certain level, but they've proven they can perform on the level just below it, or highest level closest to it. They've proven that they can perform. So in some ways, it's not all potential because we've seen what they can do, but sometimes a player gets chosen. This is the rare exception I'm talking about. A player will get chosen even though they haven't proven themselves that much at the previous level. They just proven that they had a potential. Every once in a while, someone will make an investment in that because they're gambling. They're playing a lottery, and sometimes it works out. Many times it does not work out. But these people, even though you could be chosen on potential, understand that the people chosen on potential and paid off of their potential rather than their production, they are the exception that make the rule. The unfortunate part of any exception that makes the rule is that everybody who hears about it believes that they're the one who can be the next exception that makes the rule. So you tell people, all right, yeah, it's possible that you could do it that way, the inefficient way, the way that doesn't require you making too much of an investment, but understand that's the exception that makes the rule what the rule is. But then that person, the lazy person, the shortcutter, obviously the person who's not following the work on your game philosophy, they say, well, look, somebody did it before. Somebody else did it. Somebody else was that 1 in a million. I could be the next one in the next million. Everybody believes they're going to be the one exception to the rule. You know, LeBron James went from high school to the NBA. He's the one example that's enough for every other high school player to believe he can skip college and go play professional basketball. I get people who email me still to this day who say, Dre, you know, I played in high school, or I didn't even play in high school. I didn't play college ball at all. Do you think it's possible for me to go overseas, or what I got to do to go overseas, or what steps can I take because people in my neighborhood tell me that I could go play basketball overseas? I tell them, you're probably not good enough to play professional basketball overseas. I don't even know who you are, never seen you play before, don't know your name, and don't want to watch your YouTube highlight clip. I know with 99% certainty you're probably not good enough to play professional basketball, because if you were, you would have played college basketball. If you were, you would have been playing on your high school team. Somebody would have invited you to a college. You would have been smart enough to go to college and get yourself the seasoning, which would have made you an even better prospect for the pros. But the fact that you're trying to shortcut the situation and your reasoning is, your practicality is, well, there are other people who have skipped high school and gone to the pros. Well, listen, the people who skip high school and go to the pros, they got agents knocking down their doors when it's not even legal for them to be talking to agents. Who's knocking down yours? Nobody? Okay, then you are the rule. You are not the exception. And I'm just using basketball as an example here, but again, whenever the exceptions exist, the shortcutters are drawn to the exceptions the way flies are drawn to piles of dog shit, because they're looking for the quick thing. They're looking for the easiest possible route to creating success. And understand, there's no real easy route to creating success. I mean, it's going to take effort. It's going to take time. It's going to take attention, focus, energy. It's going to take an investment of your money. That's what work on your game is all about. If you're not willing to make that investment, you will prove to yourself that you are actually the rule, not the exception. You'll be the statistic and not the story. And if you don't know that metaphor, then read my book, Work on Your Game, in which I covered it. Point number 2. Today's topic is selection versus development. Making sure that you show up ready to perform and not ready to be taught, but ready to perform so you can already do the job so they already know you're a good investment. Number 2, how do you prove that you're developed though? Let's say you're already developed and you have the skill and you can do the thing, but for whatever reason up to this point, you haven't been able to get anyone to invest in you, buy into you, listen to you, give you a shot. You're on the outside looking in, banging on the door, and nobody is opening the door. How do you prove that you are developed enough to actually perform should somebody open that door and let you in? All right, let's say it all together. The answer is one word. It starts with an R. We're going to say it all at the same time. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Results. The way that you prove that you are developed and ready to go and that you can do the thing, whatever that thing is you have to show and prove results. Not talk, not potential, not, I know I would do great if I had the chance or someone would just give me an opportunity. Listen, don't nobody want to hear that shit. The only way that you prove that you are developed and you can perform is that you have to show a track record of results. As a professional speaker, for example, sometimes people will reach out to me and say, hey, Dre, we're having this event. We want to know if you're available and or interested in possibly doing this event. And maybe they'll tell me a little bit of information about it. And I always ask them, whenever I get on the phone with these people or I'm exchanging emails, I ask them, how'd you find me? How do you know about me? What got you interested even to reaching out to me in the first place? And invariably, every single time, they always give the same answer. I mean, the details of the answers can change, but the answer is always the same. They say, I saw you speak at this place, or my boss heard you speak at this place, or I was on YouTube looking up videos on this topic and I came across yours, or I was on your website because somebody told me about you, or I've been listening to this, or I've been following you since this time and I saw you speak at this time. Every single time their answer is some form of, I saw you give a presentation before, so I want you to give a presentation for us. Every single time is the result that I have already produced that creates the opportunity for the next result. If you have not produced results at the previous level, you're probably not going to get much opportunity at the next level. Nobody's even going to look at you at the next level because look, where they're looking for the people to come to their level are the people who are performing at the level right below it. That's how it works. All right. NBA teams look at college basketball and they look at overseas teams or players who are eligible to come join their NBA teams, and they look at those players because that's the level right beneath where the NBA is. They look at the G League. They look at the players who are already performing at those levels to see who's the next one who's going to step in. College teams, they look at high schools. High schools, they look at, I don't know if high schools even recruit, but if they do, they're looking at what? Middle schools and maybe other players who are playing in high school. They can kind of snatch away from one program and bring to the next program. But we're not looking at necessarily always potential. We're looking at people who are performing. We're looking at people who may have some potential to grow, but also people who can produce, because we ain't got all 4, 5, 10 years for you to keep being potential. At some point, you got to start producing results. You have to do it and prove that you did it. I'm gonna say that one more time. If you want people to start choosing you, you have to do the thing and prove that you've done the thing. Now, this begs a question, usually also from the shortcutters. Don't take the personal shortcutters, but this is the question. They say, well, Dre, how can I understand what you're saying, that you proved that you did the thing, and that's why people are reaching out to you, but if I've never gotten a chance to do the thing, how can I prove that I can do the thing? Well, that's when you got to start hustling. That's when you got to sell yourself. That's when you need to create an opportunity for yourself. That's when you need to start enacting your personal initiative, the go-getter energy that moves you to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen, and going and creating an opportunity for yourself. And if through 1,000+ episodes of this podcast you haven't learned how to do that, then I think you may need to be tested for hearing comprehension or English comprehension, or maybe you're just a lazy ass and you need to go listen to them again and actually apply things instead of just what do they call it? The word is escaping me right now. I'll think of it in a minute. Maybe you just need to go apply the information instead of, I can't think of, instead of just masturbating on information. That's the word I was looking for. You got to go do something. All right, you wanted somebody to call you for a speaking gig, but you haven't spoken anywhere yet because no one's giving you an opportunity to speak somewhere, because there are places you can volunteer to speak. You can start your own meetup group, and look, you can give us whatever you want to talk about. As long as you get people to show up, they'll listen to you talk. You got a phone, right? You got a smartphone? All right, you got a friend? All right, tell somebody to video record you. Done. You don't have any friends? Go on Amazon, buy a tripod. All right, you got an opportunity to get yourself seen. You don't have any basketball footage of you playing? Or have you played basketball before? Yes. You got friends? Yes. You got a couple of hours, either one. Go play in a basketball game and let somebody film it. If that's all you got, that's all you got. But listen, these excuses of no one's giving me a chance yet, so how can I prove that I can do the thing? That's 1990s, people. Some of y'all wasn't even alive in the 1990s. That excuse is over. All right, we're not buying that anymore. That no longer sells. Okay, that's money that's no longer in circulation. You got to come with something better these days. You prove that you're developed by doing the thing, by producing the results. People can see that you can produce the result so that they know you're worthy of it. So all they're asking you to do is to do what you've already been doing for us. That's the only thing that you got to do. And just keep proving it. Every time you prove it, your price goes up. And I did a whole episode on that also. If you didn't listen to that, then go in the game group member portal. There is a section on price, sales, money. Click on that. All the episodes on price, sales, money are under that category. Again, that's in the game group member portal, the podcast section. Point number 3. Today's topic is selection versus development. In many places in life, people do not have the time or the patience or the energy or the attention to develop you. They want you to show up already developed, and that's what's going to cause them to select you, that you've already proven that you're developed. Point number 3 is this. What if you're not yet developed? Not everybody's developed. Not everybody has game just yet. Not everybody has a lot of experience, speaking. Maybe you haven't served a whole lot of clients. Maybe you haven't written a whole lot of articles or ever self-published a book, but you want to put a book out. Maybe you haven't written a lot of articles, but you want to write for the New Yorker magazine. Maybe you haven't trained a lot of clients, but you do want to get some clients. You want to have a boot camp class. Nobody wants to sign up though because they never heard of you and they don't see any results on your Instagram or on your webpage. How do you actually get yourself developed if you're not developed yet? Is there a place or a time or a combination of both where you can be taught and you can be developed and someone will invest in you and actually help you get better? Absolutely yes, that does exist. So in case you were wondering if you were just stuck in the mud, you're never stuck in the mud if you actually apply some personal initiative. But in case you were thinking of making that excuse that you were stuck because there's nobody or nowhere or no time to actually develop you, that's incorrect. There is a time and place where you can be taught and developed. The thing is, in order to receive that, you got to invest in yourself to get it. You want someone to teach you, you want someone to develop you, you want someone to help make you better, you got to be willing to invest in yourself. If you're not willing to, if you don't have, listen, I want to wrap this up with a bow and make sure that I am covering all bases here, okay? If you want to be selected and paid for your performance, then you have to prove that you can perform. If you have not yet proven that you can perform, then you need to enact some initiative, go perform and get proof that you performed, and then start showing it to people. If you don't have the ability to perform yet because you need development and you need teaching and you need someone to take you under their wing, you must invest in getting that teaching and development. If you are not willing to invest in that teaching or development, don't tell me that you're unable, but if you're unwilling, because everybody's able to do whatever they're willing to do. You see how that works? Anything you're willing to do, you're able to do. Now, if you're unable, that means you're unwilling. They're synonyms. So if you're unwilling to invest in getting that training or getting that development, then what I suggest you do is perish the idea of being selected in that specific area of your life and maybe try something else in which you are willing to invest in yourself, because we know the 5 forms of investment: time, money, attention, energy, focus. If you are hesitant to invest any of the above 5 in anything you're serious about in life, then you need to change the sentence about being serious about it, because you're not. And I'm pausing there just to get us a moment to sink in. I'm gonna say that one more time. If you are not, there are 5 forms of investment: time, money, attention, energy, focus. If you are not willing to invest all 5 into anything in which you consider yourself, you like to call yourself serious about, then you need to change that statement and stop saying that you're serious about it, because you are obviously not. Anything we're serious about, we'll invest all 5 in. Any of you married? Okay, did you invest time, money, attention, energy, and focus into that relationship? I'm sure you did, as did your significant other. Any of you have kids? Have you invested time, money, attention, energy, focus into any of those? Any of you running a business? Did you invest time, money, attention, energy, focus? Do you continue to invest time, money, attention, energy, focus? Any athletes out here who have any accomplishments in your sport under your belt, have you invested time, money, attention, energy, focus? You got to make these investments if you plan on getting anywhere in anything. You look at anything in your life that you're happy about, proud of, that someone could look at and see as an achievement. A single person sees a married person, that's an achievement, right? Because they're not married. They may be looking for a relationship, but they're not in one. An athlete who can't get off the bench sees an athlete who's starting and winning some awards in the area or in the country or in the world or at the state level. That's an accomplishment, because you're doing something that a lot of athletes didn't do. I guarantee you made more investments than they made. Now, of course, you have some talents that they don't have, but you also had to make some investments in that talent. Because only so far potential can take you before someone's going to ask, okay, when you actually going to do something? Other places, besides that investment, anywhere else you show up, they don't have time to groom you. They don't have time to wait for you to get up to speed. As Kobe Bryant used to always say, get your ass in gear. And if your ass is not in gear, you will be on the street. You won't be on the team anymore. You got to show up and be ready to go. That's just how it works in life in general. We're not talking sports or business or entrepreneurship or any particular industry, any industry. You got to show up ready to go. Because if you're not ready to go, listen, do you know how many options we got to replace you? You kidding me? Development is your job, ladies and gentlemen. To get better is your job. Working on your game is your job. Having someone instruct you and teach you and help develop you and mentor you, all these things that the shortcutters say that is the reason why they're no good, the reason why you think you're garbage, because nobody has invested time into you. All right, that's your job. That's the reason why you continue to be garbage, because you're waiting for somebody else to do what it is your job to do. If nobody ever told you that before, then I'm glad to be the first one. And let me be the last one, so that no one has to repeat this to you. Whether you do it yourself, that development, as I did playing basketball, I didn't have a trainer. My parents weren't basketball players. Nobody in the neighborhood took me under their wing. I didn't have any friends who wanted to teach me the game. None of the players in the neighborhood who were better than me, they couldn't explain how they were better than me. They just were. They didn't know how to explain it. Some people can do things, but they can't explain it. All right, every once in a while you run across somebody who can do the thing and they can't explain it. But guarantee if they can do it and they can't explain it, they're probably gonna charge you for it. And if you ain't willing to pay, then hey, you better figure that shit out. Whether you do it yourself or you pay somebody for the help, no one has time to wait for you to get your ass in gear. Again, it's to paraphrase Kobe Bryant. All right, that's your job. And if you're not in gear, then listen, why are you expecting a return on investment? You haven't made one. Let's recap today's topic, which is selection versus development. I heard a person mention that a sports trainer said, listen, I'm not trying to turn Volkswagens into Ferraris. I want to take the Ferrari that's going 200 and help it go 210. That small difference, that's what I'm looking for. So I got to select the people who are already up to speed. Now I'm not looking for people who are at 0 and they want somebody to help them get to 60. That's too easy. I want somebody who's already at 200 and get them to 210. The thing is, the topic today is that in many life situations, you got to arrive at 200. You can't arrive at 0 and hope somebody's going to invest in you, because listen, we ain't got time for that no more. All right, in this life, we got too many options of people who are already ready than to have to waste time with people who ain't. Point number 1, episode number 352, I told you nobody pays for mediocre. If you're aiming to do business or to make money from your skills, you have to show up ready, made to perform. We pay for results that your skills show you can produce. There's a rare exception that someone gets paid for potential. That rare exception makes a whole lot of shortcutters think they can be the exception too. They usually end up being the rule that proves the exception. Point number 2. How do you prove that you're developed? One word, results. The more results you have produced and the more you can prove that you produce those results, the more developed you appear to be and the more opportunities will come your way and the more options you have for being selected. That doesn't mean you just sit around on your hands and wait for the phone to ring. You can go put yourself out there, right? The confidence, put yourself out there boldly and authentically. Put yourself out there with your results out front. Now, nobody cares about your story or what you won or how grateful you would be for the outcome. Nobody cares about any of that shit. They care about the results you can produce. Then they care about everything else. All right? Because if you can't produce results, then they don't want to hear about your story. Point number 3. What if you're not yet developed? Is there a place in time where you can be taught and developed? Absolutely there is. There are plenty of places and plenty of times, but you got to invest in yourself in order to receive it. Because a person who can do the thing and they can teach the thing, usually going to charge for the thing because they've invested. They've invested in being able to do it, and they've invested in being able to teach it. Therefore, you got to invest in being able to get it. This is the way that life works. Development is your job. It is your job to show up ready to go. Whether you do that yourself by investing sweat equity, your time and energy, attention and focus, or you do it by investing your money, and you're still going to have to invest time, energy, attention, and focus. Nobody has time to wait for you, as Kobe said, to get your ass in gear. If you're not already in gear, you better get in gear. Or, you can stay on the sideline, you can stay in the parking lot, but nobody's going to pay you for an investment that you have not yet made. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.